It's 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order for the Greater Rutland County Supervisory Union. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First order of business is to approve the agenda. The only thing I just want to note is that our staff and student highlights is Rutland Town tonight, not Proctor High School. So with that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Eric Meyer to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. General public comment. Is there anyone online tonight who wishes to speak?
Yes, I do.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, go ahead, Linda.
Okay. I would like the SU to know that I will not be advocating for the SU to continue. I am advocating for a district SU. And the reason is because we do not have a voice at the table. We pay the most money and we don't have a voice. And when we asked to have a voice at the table, when we were doing the 2022 to go back to allowing the people at the table, we didn't want to vote, but we wanted the table, you said no. We also feel that people who feel that we are the black sheep of the board, when we were asking for the articles of agreement for Quarry Valley, we don't think that we are getting the respect. And I'm hearing that from Pulteney people as well. I also, we don't think that you are looking out for our children as equal when you are voting as people of elementary schools, but you're voting for people for the schools of high schools. That I don't think you really have a good sense of what high schools are, and I think that by having maybe, people from Proctor now that has one school, I don't think you really have a good sense of it. Because of my, let me see, I think I just want to say one more thing, if I can find it on here, or consider the articles. Strategic plans say we look for every child. We look at every child, but in the 2023-24 school year, when Proctor had 3 science teachers and Pulteney had 1, we had people who were not, who didn't really care, and we ended up with 1 science teacher for 200 kids and and the person who was running the board at that time was from Proctor, so she probably knew that that was happening. Anyway, I'm just saying that I'm going to write to all the representatives and senators, as many people as I can, to say that I do not, as a Pulteney board member, advocate for SU, because I don't think it advocates for all child in all the schools. So thank you for letting me speak, and I appreciate it, and I will be quiet now.
All right, thanks for your comments, Linda. Okay. Mike, did you wish to have public comment? Did you want to speak?
Yes, I'd like to remind the chair that personal comments from board members is inappropriate.
Attacking other board members.
A public comment is public comment. That's open for anyone to speak however they want.
That's not what he said.
That would be fine, except that she said as a Pulteney board member, she just got done saying that she was acting as a Pulteney board member, so it's not necessarily public speaking.
Okay. I see it as public comment, and I'm certainly not going to stop anyone from, to express their First Amendment rights to, in any aspect of it, whether we agree with it or not. That's what public comment is for, and I get what you're saying, but, yeah.
I think we need to look at Robert's rules because it specifically says that board members are not, should not be attacking other board members. It specifically says it in Robert's rules.
Okay.
So it's okay for you to attack
Oh, my God, here we
Pulteney when
go.
I was talking, but I'm not, I get it, it's the reason why, Mike, thanks a lot, appreciate that. So when you attack Pulteney, that was.
grab
okay.
hold of the meeting.
Linda, I understand the frustration, but I don't think this is the proper place to have this back and forth with someone else, this, I've already said, I'll take your recommendation, Mike, I'll take your notes, I'll refer to Robert's rules, but for the purpose of this meeting, I think, like I said, public comment is, the time and place for people, whether they're board members or not, I think that's everyone's rights, so, and I didn't see anything, other than, that would really stop someone from expressing what they wanted to say during public comment, so, just, I'll take, I'll just take that, what you said, Mike, but, for now, I just think if there's no one else who wants to speak tonight, I'll move on. Okay? Okay. So, we're going to move on to staff and student highlights. Apologize for looking right over that and going to public comment.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Chris, there was a slideshow, if you could. Great. So we made a few edits from this from the last time, and I want to thank so I'm Sarah Tetzlaff. I'm principal of Rutland Town School. Thank you for having me here tonight. And I think it's always helpful just to start all meetings with a focus on kids, because that's what you're all here for. And I want to thank you as board members, because I know this is a thankless job and you have a lot of work ahead of you. So I appreciate all your work. I also want to thank Principal McLemore. I think there was a pushback in the rotation from last meeting, so she swapped with me. So thank you for adjusting your agenda, and she'll be at the next meeting. So, all right, so this is my 14th year being an administrator at Rutland Town School. If you just want to click through some of the slides. I have Colby Hescock as the assistant principal. It's his first year here this year, but his 8th year being a teacher at Rutland Town School. We're off to a great start. We are preschool through 8th grade with 252 students. Our average class size is 17 kids. So we have 2 sections of every grade from preschool up, with the exception of 1st grade. We have a bubble class of 44 kindergartners that registered last year. So we have 3 sections. We will soon have, again, after maternity leave, 3 sections of 1st grade, but otherwise we have 2 sections of every grade. Here, we had some photos throughout, so I won't be here a long-winded spiel of Rutland Town, but here's our preschool, elementary. Our elementary grades are kindergarten through 4th, and then we start middle school in 5th grade. So we departmentalize. In 5th grade, we have 2 teachers, one for math and science and one for ELA and social studies, the same for 6th grade. And then in 7th and 8th, they have 4 content teachers similar to the high school. So just like all the other schools in our supervisory unit, we have Bridges Math that starts in preschool. Peer assisted learning, which is a fluency strategy. We were so thankful to work with Proctor Elementary, who helped us roll this into our school last year. UFly is our foundations program for kindergarten through 2nd grade, and we piloted that probably 4 years ago, and I believe we're in our 4th year of that and seeing great results. We've done some keys to literacy, just professional development around writing. So we were thankful, actually those illustrations are from Mrs. Hogan, our art teacher. She got involved as well because, as you know, the Common Core asked that kids in every subject area are writers. So we're really looking to have some more professional development around writing. We still teach cursive in 3rd grade, and we still, value that pen and paper. So these are the writing beliefs that we came up with, and we're continuing to meet with Mr. Wiedemann and Mrs. Madison to talk about how can we forge ahead with our writing professional development. We have a great band teacher. Sorry, Proctor, I know he did a great job. I'm like, oh. Mr. Audette, we start band in 4th grade. And just to go back, we did win at the Halloween parade the best costume marching band. So we have over 70 students in 4th through 8th grade marching, and they're phenomenal. We try to have as many community involvements as possible. So we have some pictures here of some mystery readers, both parents and staff. We try to incorporate at least one field trip for every grade. So apple picking and ice skating, and then the crossover to middle school. Here we go. So we have some great clubs and activities, spelling bee being one of them. It's okay. We are in our 3rd year now of offering lifetime sports, which is a huge endeavor to take as a whole community in itself. But our goal is to really expose our kids to a number of lifetime sports. So skiing and snowboarding, skating, gymnastics, tennis, bowling, and rock climbing. And this year we're going to offer Stonehenge Indoor Golf was very gracious, and we're going to be able to offer golf to some students as well as swimming if we can get a lifeguard. So again, the hope is we're changing things a little bit this year. So for our younger students in kindergarten through 2nd grade, they'll be on more of a rotation. So they can just try a couple of these with the hopes that in middle school, they'll sign up for something at 6 times. So it's 6 Thursdays in a row. We have student-led monthly character assemblies. So we're grateful that our kids are wonderful leaders and future leaders, and they help plan these assemblies once a month for our younger grades. We were so happy to start back up shortly after COVID with Big Buddies and Little Buddies. We've had a couple of musicals at our school for the past few years. Rainbow Club and Rainbow Lunch. And our middle school, we start our day with a teacher advisory program. And we follow a developmental design, which is kind of like responsive classroom for those of you that have heard that, just a model for just community building. And we have a number of athletics: soccer, cross country, basketball, rock climbing, softball, baseball, lacrosse, and track and field. And again, here's some pictures of our band and chorus. They do many trips out in the community as well. We have peer leaders, or what I still call student council, just a different name for it. And we've had senior luncheon. So last year we collaborated with West Rutland as well and some other senior folks, but it was at the West Rutland Town Hall, which was a great event. And of course, wouldn't be middle school without our dances. We just had one last week. Camp Chinjacook is a field trip that we do. We used to do overnight, but we're not able to do overnights anymore. So this is a team building day camp for a couple of days. So our 7th graders do this every year, and when they come back after graduating high school, they often mention Chinjacook. So it's an enrichment camp. The EYES program, you don't have to play this if you don't want to. I can just kind of talk about it. The end of year studies program is something that I used to work at Rutland High School, and we had something called Yes Plan. Dave Walk did something similar at Middlebury College. Jan Plan, Rutland High School copied it. And so Mike Rowe, who is a recently retired PE health teacher, a few years into me being at Rutland Town, I wanted to do something similar for a middle school approach. So the last few days of school for our 7th and 8th graders, we offer a number of electives. So I may do knitting, community service, history of Vermont or the school, graphic design, photography, mountain biking, cigar box guitar making, creative writing, making a newspaper, the list goes on. So we offer just a variety of like exploratory classes, and students are kind of done at the end of, when we're pushing into June anyways. So those last 3-4 days, they have like a morning and an afternoon that they can sign up for again, every year it kind of changes, and we always get feedback from our kids. So you're more than welcome, I believe this is in your board packet, to watch the video, and it just kind of highlights our end of year studies that we do.
Is that the last slide? Sorry.
That's the last slide, yeah.
Green team,
Yep.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was the last slide, my apologies. So Green Team, this was a student started club. just about the environment. And some of you may have heard Zoe Saunders. She gave a shout out in her legislative update last year about Rutland Town Green Team and just students taking action. And so we meet during lunchtime, and I was able to bring them to the State House to meet a bunch of people last year. And again, this all just came from student voice. This club all came from them. And we try to have a ton of community connections. So we have Master Gardener Mary Ashcroft. We had, I forgot what the bird club is called in town. It's a club, but Chris, Superintendent.
Rutland Audubon.
The Rutland Audubon, thank you so much. So Superintendent Sell came to visit with one of our middle school science teachers, Mrs. McDougall, and we were just amazed at how vested and engaged some of these kids are in birds with this club. I mean, that's all they talked about. So, you know, there's more community service. Of course, the fire department, we're wrapping up. Tomorrow is our last day for Stuff a Bus. So especially with things going on in the economy, we are doing as much as we can to feed our families through all, you know, community cupboard, et cetera. And we have a great Rutland Town Rec department as well. And we have a parent-teacher organization, much like all the other schools in the SU as well. And that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have
Thank
any
you so much.
questions?
Yeah, did anyone have any questions? I just wanted to ask, like, about your PALS program, your peer-assisted learning. Is that, like, from, like, grade to grade? Is that for certain grades? Is that for every grade?
It's usually for elementary, and it's really with students practicing their reading fluency. So it's a approach that we, I think when Lindsay Ryder was here, she had taught some of us about this research-based, just increasing fluency. And then Proctor Elementary really grabbed a hold of it, and through in-services and collaboration, discussion, and just proof in the pudding that this really increases rate of reading, we decided to roll it into Rutland Town as well. So I'm not sure if all the other schools are using it, but we are thankful for, I think West Rutland is for sure, West Rutland and Proctor for helping us follow along. Yeah,
Thank you.
all right.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks for
good
coming
luck,
out.
everybody. Thank you.
We need it.
Okay. All right, on to the consent agenda. So we have the warrants from October 1st and minutes from October 1st, the warrants 458 and 460. Take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Eric Meyer. Any discussion, questions? Amendments to anything? Okay. All those in favor, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion, Tom, were you a yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. On the superintendent's report.
Thanks, Eric. A few items that weren't in my report, but I'll just quickly highlight them. So last Monday on October 27th, I had the pleasure of going up to the University of Vermont. Each year, the University of Vermont, in partnership with the AOE, holds a very nice Outstanding Educator ceremony. And as we discussed at the beginning of the year, we kind of adopted our format a little bit this year, where we each building recognized an outstanding educator, and then from those 8 individuals, we then selected 2. And this year, we had selected Linda Mullen from Proctor High School, and then Jill Alderman from Rutland Town School. And Jill
Linda
and
McEwen.
Linda McEwen, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Linda McEwen. Linda Mullen's a board member, sorry.
Yeah.
Too many lines
It'd be
right now.
shocking to her.
So Jill Alderman from Rutland Town and Linda McEwen from Proctor High School. It was a very nice ceremony. I just once again just want to congratulate both of them on behalf of the GRCSU board. I know it's difficult for individuals to make it up there, but it was nice to see them both up there, and it was a well-attended ceremony. Just being surrounded, just a night of positivity. It was kind of just let them know that what they're doing it does not go unnoticed. So, but I just want to congratulate them. Also, I want, along the line of congratulating, I would like to congratulate the Poultney girls varsity soccer team, which did win the Division IV state championship, 1-0 over Winooski. I believe it was over 30 years since their last championship, so it's a great job to Poultney. And as well as keeping that tradition alive of Corey Valley Schools winning Division IV state championships. So It's great to see, Pulte.
Maybe someday as Wolverines.
That's, well, we'll see. But I just want to publicly congratulate Pulte as well. I know that Joe will talk about them at the Corey Valley meeting, but just on behalf of GRCSU to congratulate them. There are a few other items in here. We'll talk more, I know, during budget, but, and you may have seen this in the VSB update, just around the VI health benefit, the early projection is around 7.3%. In the past, last year, Lewis and I put together a budget/cost driver presentation. We'll be doing that again this year. It'll be done at the local board meeting, so this will be one of the items that we'll talk about, is around healthcare being a cost driver, things that can impact, and we could talk a little more about that, but I just want to place this in here because that is something just for us to be aware of, that this is something, while it's significantly lower than it has been in the past, still 7.3% is still relatively high, but it's just something, that does impact each of our budgets. Also, in the redistricting task force, there was a meeting on the 28th. I just provided just a brief update. They're still trying to figure out what maps they would like to do, and I'm not going to get too into this, but there still is a map around the regional cooperative education services, or BOCES model. There's around CTE districts, and there's just a discussion of developing a map around a regional comprehensive high school. So we're still waiting to see where this takes us. And I know that there's a lot of discussion around the State Act Act 73. I know myself, Louis Malazzo, Lisa Madison, Tammy Escott, and Jennifer McLemore. We're at a AOE strategic planning meeting today, all-day meeting with Secretary Saunders, Deputy Secretary Jill Briggs-Campbell, as well as with education leaders and teams from across the states. There's a lot of deliverables that they have to take a look at, and I spent all day in the graduation requirements, dealing with that, because I know they're looking at statewide graduation requirements. It's just something for us to keep an eye on, because of the impact that may have on us, not just in our high schools, but our elementary schools and moving forward. So there's just a lot of moving parts right now, but I think it's just, we just have to just, maintain calm and just, just kind of wait and see what's going to happen with this. And then I know that each of our districts has talked about that, as we have been discussing consolidation in local districts, that we decided to hold off on those conversations until we saw what's going to happen with Act 73. I would encourage our boards to still continue to maintain that same stance, and then when we see what happens during this next legislative session, that we can then begin open up on, once again, delivering upon what Governor Scott said he wanted to do. Was saying that we try to do is deliver high quality education to all of our students, expanding programs, extracurricular and academic offerings, but also maintaining a relatively low cost for our community members, or reducing costs for community members. So these are just things that we have to be aware of. So I think that the rest is just more just informational. More happy to answer any questions that you may have about this. I don't know, Eric, if you're going to talk about the VSBA later on, but I just put a brief overview of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I was going to, I looked at your coverage in your report, and it's pretty thorough.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot I can add to it, other
Sure.
than, it was a good conference, and the pre-conference workshop was, highlighted, distinguishing the roles and responsibilities between the board and superintendent, and unless people want me to go into detail on the workshops, I wasn't going to go into it on.
Like I said, it was a good session, good two sessions. The evening session, night before, and the day. I know George was there as well. George and Eric and myself are the three representatives from the SU. I thought the keynote speakers this year were probably the best they've been in a while. So I did let the VSBA know that appreciated the individuals that you brought in. It was very timely. But I know a lot of the anxiety and discussion still were centering around everything that's going on around us. And I think the biggest thing was just a lot of said there's just nothing for us to keep worried about, is maintain quality education for our kids currently. That's what we're looking to do. So. Okay.
I mean, a lot of the workshops were concerned with change management
Yes.
and conflict resolution, which we're going to need. So it was well timed.
Well, and I think you're right, Jordan. I think what I've heard is through this, this Act 73 and what's going on nationally with, the Department of Education and some of the stressors, that the biggest thing is that as boards, well, there's a professional disagreements, there's professional discourse, but how we conduct ourselves without losing the trust of our community members. And I think that's the biggest thing that they were really focusing on, was just as boards, how do we operate and engage in difficult conversations, difficult discussions around consolidation, next steps, but without getting too personal or attacking one another or pointing fingers, and just because all that does is erode the trust with our community members as a board, as administrators. So that was the kind of the crux of many of the discussions, so around that. So
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the workshops I attended, just aligned with that theme as well. But okay. Anyone have any questions on the superintendent report? All right, we'll move on to assistant superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to highlight 2 items. I know you have my written report and a lot of things to discuss tonight. The first was our October in-service. We just had a great day at Rutland Town. We so appreciate the teachers and the hard work that they put in. We had a number of teachers who volunteered to facilitate in-service sessions for their colleagues, especially teachers who had been teaching bridges previously and offered to share some of their experiences with the program with their colleagues who were new to the program for the first time, and that was something that had come about from conversations at our August in-service day. Our teachers met in content groups and grade level groups, did a lot of curriculum work and a lot of collaboration around the work in front of us and implementing the literacy and math initiatives that we've laid out for this year, along with content area standards. PE teachers have new standards. Their standards were updated over the summer. They spent the whole day updating their curriculum documents, working with our curriculum coordinator to make sure that they have everything they need to implement those. So overall, just a really productive, professional, collegial day. I told Superintendent Sal that one of my favorite moments was we had a conversation with our elementary teams about data, and they were talking about looking at the fall data that they had for the students and how they were using that data to plan for instruction and interventions with the students in their classrooms. And they were doing it by grade level groups, and they were in the cafeteria at Rutland Town, and so each table had a different grade level. And as you walked around the cafeteria, you could see the computer screens of the teacher, and one teacher had one data report up, and another had a report from Fastbridge up, and another had a sheet with instructional groups that she was targeting for small group time in your class, and another had a schedule that she had put together for small group rotations, and they were all sharing these with each other and talking about how they were using the information that they had about student learning to plan for the instruction that was happening in their classrooms. And you could just see it. It was so visual on the screen. I didn't have my phone in my hands to take a picture, and I'm remiss in that, because it was just a beautiful snapshot of the kinds of professional conversations that we try to create all the time for our teachers in these moments. And I came away with just really great enthusiasm for the work ahead of us and the place that our staff are in, and being willing to collaborate and share and work together to make great things happen for students. So it was a great in-service day, and great feedback from our staff on what they'd like to see next and other things that they'd like to work on together and talk about together and learn about together. So we just really appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk to them like that. And then the second piece of news is actually from the Agency of Education, in that if you remember last year, we had 2 schools who partnered with the Agency of Education for a Read Vermont pilot program for literacy coaching with Agency of Education consultants from the Stern Center. And those 2 schools were Pulteney Elementary and Wells Village School. And then in the middle of the year, that funding had been rescinded from the federal government. that was leftover COVID funds, and the coaching program came to sort of a very quick halt, and they didn't know what was going to happen, and it took some time to figure out. Well, the program is now back, and so they have been reaching out to us and reconnected with the schools, and so both of those schools are interested in re-engaging with the literacy coaches and picking up that work and moving forward. They continued that work on their own last spring when the AOE program officially ended, and they participated in some additional school-based professional development and work, and they really, kept going. So they have a great place to build on this year as well. And we're still learning. There's a webinar next week where we're going to get some more information about what the details of that will look like, but it will be fully funded by the Agency of Education, as was the program last year. And so we'll have additional resources to support the literacy professional development for teachers in that building. And the agency has also indicated that there may be some additional funding because of the way that everything happened, and that those schools may be able to tap into resources that are sort of beyond the scope of just coaching at this point, and things that will supplement their coaching, like materials or resources or other supports for their teachers. So we'll know more soon, but again, an exciting opportunity with teachers who are very committed to literacy professional learning, and are eager to continue that work from last year. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that anyone has.
Questions? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your work and for your report. And it's good to hear that that program is back.
Seems ironic, in light of all that's happening, that there's not only coming back, but there's extra money. Something, sometimes when you say that dog don't hunt, that would be my sentence for this, but we shall see.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right. On to personnel. So we have contract recommendations, retirements. Did anyone have any questions on these? These are all for informational.
I'm guessing the resignation, the movement is taking that position.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? On to finance.
Okay, so tonight we're looking at the second draft of the GRCSU budget. So last month we went through the budget in detail. There's 22 pages with a lot of miscellaneous information in there that we went through. I'm just going to touch on the highlights, and then if you want, we can go through some of the other reports that we went through last month. So really, there hasn't been a lot of changes since last month. The biggest thing is update to health insurance. As Chris mentioned, I was budgeting 12% in the last round, and I changed that to 7.3%, which is what was submitted by VHI. I've also input last month during the presentation. The last page was the surplus proposal, which my recommendation was to use 50% of the surplus to offset the assessment. I have input that in here into this budget. The board has not made a decision yet, so we can change that though on the fly tonight, based on whatever direction the board wants to go in. So based on tonight, what you have in front of you for the second draft. So right now, looking at the general fund budget first, which is on the end is on page 6. All right, the assessment would be up by $112,000, and each town can see their impact for their assessment right below that in that grid. For special ed, on page 13, total assessment is up a total of $7,000. And how it impacts each district is in the grid below that. As you can see, Some are up and some are down, and that's really based on the percentage that each district is paying based on the number of IEP students. That's how the special ed assessment is based. It's based on the number of IEP students in that district compared to the overall SU. And
So Corey Valley is a decrease on special
Corey
ed?
Valley's, yes, special ed count versus the overall is a decrease. So you went from 207 to 199. So your assessment decreased. And then all the other pages are the details of the budget as well as there's staffing information. We went over some scenarios last month on transportation, extraordinary reimbursement, but there's just a lot of supporting documentation in here. The last page is the surplus proposal that we also went through last month. Nothing has changed there. I provided 3 scenarios for both the general fund and for the special ed. General fund surplus was $208,000, special ed surplus was $133,000. My recommendation was that we use 50% of that to offset this year's assessments, this year being FY '27, and then the other 50% would be refunded to the districts, and the board can choose whether they want that refund in the current year, FY '26, or refunded in their FY '27 budget. The board can decide that tonight or at any future meeting.
So I notice in this draft, it doesn't say anything about loss of federal grants. We think that's off the table, or we just didn't include it because it didn't change?
We are currently not budgeting for any loss, substantial loss in federal grants.
The 90 is still on the table, or it's not?
The 90.
Says
Reduced
reduced.
revenue by 90.
Oh, so that's the revenue for the indirect revenue that we can take. So that is still part of this budget. That $90,000 decrease is a part of this budget.
Okay. And so we don't believe that there's going to be loss of any other federal funds, or we're operating with the mindset that there's not?
This budget is operating on the mindset that any reductions that do happen will be absorbed by staffing cuts.
You said staffing cuts?
Correct. There's no increase in this budget.
So let's say this budget is approved and we're sitting here this time next year and we're in a new fiscal year and we have a cut to federal funds which impact staffing. You're telling me at that point, we would cut staffing based on not receiving federal funds?
So small changes in allocation happen on a regular basis, and we think we can absorb those with carryover funds that we have available. Major cuts to federal funding being that the feds decide not to fund CFP anymore or IDA-B. We would know that a year in advance because the federal budget is set a year for grants a year in advance from when we receive it.
But would we know before we approve the budget?
We would know before we issue contracts.
So we'd know before April?
Correct.
Okay. And so the way we're going to make up these differences is the expectation or the proposal is to use surplus funds at the SU rather than having funds go back to local.
Which difference, are you referring to the current assessment?
Well,
So the general fund assessment is utilizing, so if you look at page 4, at the top, revenues, the general fund assessment is utilizing $104,000 in prior year surplus. And that's what's after that is used, that's resulting in the assessment increase of the $112,000. If we didn't use any surplus, the assessment would be up by $216,000. And for special ed, the revenues are on page 9. We're using $66,000 of surplus with a net increase in assessment of $7,000, which is on page 13. So if we didn't use any surplus there, we would be up approximately $73,000.
So your recommendation is basically what's, did I understand?
One way or another, the local boards are getting that money back, so it's a matter of how we utilize it. So whether we refund it to you in FY '27 and you pay a larger assessment, the net impact is zero. So it's not gonna affect the bottom line. So if your assessment is up by $100,000 and you get a $100,000 check, they offset each other. So no matter what your decision is, it doesn't have any impact. It's just really a matter of optics and how you want to utilize.
So where
those
you want to
funds.
put it is the bottom line.
Was that a question or a comment?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm
I mean,
perceiving
so
from-
my recommendation was we use 50% to offset the assessment, and the other 50% you can take as a refund. So it's a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
half and half.
Exactly. I mean, alternatively, if the 100% were to go back to local districts, then they're just gonna turn around and supply the SU budget anyway, and I think we had this discussion in previous years, so.
So I guess the other question is based on the count, let's just take Corey Valley. It goes down from 199 to 207, but we have no staff reductions. So we're staying at current staffing even though our numbers have decreased. So I just like, there's no paras, no anyone that, from that 199 or 207 to 199. And I know maybe that's not a question for you, maybe that's a question for. But that just seems interesting to me.
So one thing I would say, I mean, I don't have the details, but I could say that this is a lagging indicator number that we're using. So this is based on child count numbers from December 1st, 2024. So that all of our numbers that were used for our assessments are based on prior year numbers, so that we can create this budget and we're not waiting for this year's numbers. So the special ed child count that we're using is a number that is accumulated in last December.
So we should have a good surplus then this coming year is what I'm hearing then also. Based on.
Well, we've had a surplus in special ed the last
Well, I'm
couple of years.
just saying though,
but-
based on the Corey Valley number, if we're,
So our overall special ed count though was only it's a 4-student drop. So I mean, I don't really know how.
well,
what-
how do you
what
go
those
from 199, 207 to 199 and only lose 4
So
students?
the total, if you look at page 2.
I saw that, but that's my
So, but the-
question.
So special ed is one big pot. So your assessment is based on your count, but the total special ed budget is based on all special ed students
in the SU.
in the SU.
Right, but when you're breaking it down for our assessment, it's based on, you just told us it was based on our student numbers.
That's how much you're billed, but whether SU
Right.
has but if, you could have went down by 10 students, but the number could have stayed the same SU-wide, and therefore you wouldn't expect the surplus.
But but my question is about staffing. So because it only changes 4 cumulative, but it's not 4 in the whole SU, okay, that's fine, but you're talking about 207 to 199 in one district. My question is, there's no staffing change in that allotment, or,
Tammy, do you know what our current child count number is that we have this year? Not the official number that we report to the state, but the number of students on IEPs?
No, I don't off the top of my head right this moment, no.
information to have for budgets.
Okay.
I can get that information, but I don't have it right now.
I mean, I would also point out, I mean, yes, there's no staffing reductions, but the budget is only up by $70,000 in compared to the overall special ed budget. That's a very low percentage, and one of the reasons for that is the shifts that are being made. I mean, those could have been secondary students, that didn't have one-on-ones. They could have been elementary students that didn't have one-on-ones. So those wouldn't result in staffing changes if they didn't have one-to-ones.
Okay, that's a lot of kids to have a reduction and not have any staffing included, in my opinion, when I'm looking within the Corey Valley District.
It's only 4 kids, which is 1%. The total special ed reduction is only 4 students in these child counts.
Right, across the entire SU.
Yes.
I understand that. But the numbers within Corey Valley reduced from 207 to 199.
I understand that, but the staffing that's in this budget is SU-wide. It's not Corey Valley staffing.
I understand that. But the staffing had to be within the Corey Valley area to be dealing with the students that are no longer there. So my question is, if there's no change, then where did that staffing go?
So Tammy, if in this scenario, you do shift paras, so if they say like if there's a drop in enrollment in, say, Corey Valley, and that para could be then reassigned to another district where there's a need because you have not been able to fill a position, correct?
Yes.
So like I said, I don't know the scenario. It's not just it's like a classroom.
I understand that, but there was a drop of 4 overall, so.
I understand, but I'm saying it just, I don't know what that staffing looks like, but so it does that para, did it move to someone who is covering in another one of our districts where we are short-staffed with paras all the time? It's like a revolving door.
Yeah, but
for
these
paras.
would be special ed paras, so they couldn't just be in gen ed.
No, but if we lose that student and there's a need to reassign that para, then then that para could get reassigned out of that district somewhere else or to another student. So I said, we can look at it and have this information for December board meeting for this.
Well, it doesn't make any difference by then, because we're approving the budget tonight.
You don't have to, you can
Well, if
table this till
we're-
December if you'd like.
And once we approve this is a set number once we start going back to our districts, which is always my issue. That I think this budget should not be set in stone before,
If we were all one district, then we wouldn't have that issue.
well,
I'd also, like, if you look at your page 1, just from the first draft at the bottom, I did mention last month that there's an increase in both revenue and expense due to staffing, and a staffing due to state place student and out-of-district students. So we did receive 2 students that are part of this budget, each that require one-to-one, that we are billing. One, we get 100% reimbursement from the state, and one, we are billing 100% of that cost to another district. So that's 2 staff additions that we're receiving 100% back in reimbursement for.
Right.
So, and our staffing is only up by 1.18 staff members, so that is actually technically a reduction, considering we're getting 100% back in reimbursement for those 2 students that are not they're not our resident students. So if you take the two staff minus the 1.18, we're actually down by 0.82.
Okay. So that was one of my questions too, is if the budget needed to be approved tonight, but in regards to having more information.
I mean, typically we have, one thing you may have noticed on the special ed budget on the first page of page 9, there are still 3 numbers that I have highlighted on the revenue. Last year, we received this information for these revenues on October 15th. I have several inquiries into the state, and I have not received a response yet as to when we will receive these numbers, but they are very large numbers. So the census block grant, the Act 176 census block grant, the extraordinary reimbursement number, which is a calculator. I'm waiting for the updated calculator, as well as the EEE grant number. I'm just budgeting estimates.
So we don't know if these could be
These numbers-
reduced from the state.
They could be reduced or they could be increased. I was conservative with the big one, I was conservative with my number, but, I mean, I'm not 100% comfortable with that number, but that's the best I have to go on at this time.
And we don't get those till,
Last year, we got them in October.
yeah.
So hopefully any day now.
It'll be tomorrow. Okay.
I asked again today, I asked the CFO from the state at the meeting we were at today, and they were gonna look into it.
So maybe tonight, it would be helpful if at least we provided guidance on the surplus for, just to help with local budgets, or?
Definitely, and any other guidance if you wanted, and if you wanted to wait until next month to approve it. I mean, the benefit of having the SU meeting early in the month, we do meet before all the local board meetings. So in the past, the SU usually met at the end of the month, so you weren't, if we waited to December, then you weren't gonna have an approved SU budget until we were pretty much done with the local budgets, but.
It would be nice if there was like some kind of time restraint on the state revenue so that we could like actually work with real numbers.
Well, that's a struggle.
Unfortunately.
That's a struggle we deal with every year, not just
Yeah.
on these pieces. We're always waiting for the long-term weighted ADM, which is the student count. That's a huge part of our tax calculation. The yield is always an estimate. CLAs, we're always waiting on. It'd be great if all of these numbers were based on prior year numbers and there was a lag so that we could start budgeting in July or August if we knew all this information. If we knew there was gonna be a huge impact to our tax rate based on CLA or the yield or drop in enrollment, then we can make those shifts earlier on and have a little bit more time to plan. But the way the process is now, we have a very short window and the information is coming live as we're doing it, and we really have not a lot of time to plan or to make shifts. It's usually very quickly we have to move.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Are we doing, what are we talking about, surplus? I mean,
Surplus.
Surplus, and I'd still like to hear from people if you would like to,
Wait until December
until
to approve
December.
this? I would. I think there's a lot of big numbers in flux.
Yeah.
And I don't have the faith and confidence that everything's coming through the pipeline. So,
I get the gut feeling that stuff might be reduced more than we're anticipating.
Well, the block
But there's
grant,
nothing you can do about it. It is what it is.
the block grant's based on a calculation, so, I mean, that's not something that they can just reduce. It's based on our enrollment times that block grant number, which is increased in statute based on CPI, or the.
So you're saying
or the
that
need.
that number is more accurate than?
Well, I'm saying, it may increase or decrease here, but I'm saying it's not something that the state can say, we're gonna reduce it because we have less revenue or anything like that. It's a set number based on different factors that are in statute.
Okay.
We just don't know what those actual numbers are at this point. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, it sounds like everyone's in agreement on that, and then what about the surplus? How do people feel about that? I mean, again, I don't know if it'd be helpful that you have some kind of concrete answer for local boards, and because I think we're all gonna be looking at first drafts this month.
So is the surplus, are we just dividing that evenly amongst each district, the other 50%? What are we?
It gets refunded based on the way it was charged, so it would get refunded based on the FY '25
So
assessments.
if a district paid 55% of an SU bill, that's based on the 55%?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So I'd make a motion to go with proposal 1 for the surplus, the recommendation
Okay.
for general and special ed.
A motion by Lisa for proposal 1. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Colin?
I'm good with that.
Okay, Tom? I'm just making sure I heard everyone. All right, motion carries unanimously. All right, so I think that's it for the budget. Luce, do you have anything else? Did anyone have any questions on the monthly reports either?
Can I just ask the board if there's any other additional information they would like for December outside of just the special education numbers? Is there anything else that you'd like for us to have? Just want to make sure. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're on to new business. So at our last meeting, Lewis had mentioned a change in one of our bylaws on the capitalization of assets. And I don't know if you wanted to just briefly explain this.
You have to amend it based on an update that the state made. So we're not just randomly changing this. The state has made a change, and so therefore we have to amend to keep our language consistent with that. So, yeah, just want to.
Yeah, and then in the drive is the old, our current version, and then the amended one, just to update it to $10,000. So, there are no questions or discussion. We could take a motion to amend the GRCSU bylaw, section 3.5, capitalization of assets.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by George.
To match the state language.
Okay,
And should it say on that page when it was updated, or is it saying it someplace else?
what,
Like this section was updated today per statute.
What's the statute number?
Yeah. I mean, I understand it's not a policy, but I do think it should be recorded somehow within this.
That's according to the statute number.
Yeah, why it was, section
Yeah.
3 and the date that it's changed. Or
okay,
is that being changed on the cover page? I don't know, because we only saw this one
So
page.
Lewis could work, and Lewis and I could
Yeah,
work
I
with
think we
Christine
can
on-
just update it. We
But
can
just,
add,
so we're gonna do a policy, just put an update on the bottom and then
Yeah.
put like
I think
the
so.
statute in parentheses after.
I'm not
Okay.
sure if it's an actual
Just as a
statute or if
reference.
it's just an AOE.
Or
Is that
just even a
covered?
reference to the AOE, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah,
Is that covered in the legal reference to CFR?
no,
No.
No.
2-3? No?
no, I looked that up, and
Okay.
that has something to do.
It's based on an AOE update, correct, Lewis?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So just
and-
reference the.
But
update.
I'll check and see. Maybe it's a statute, I'm not sure. It was
All
just.
right,
a-
along with today's date.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
Well, I don't know, because it doesn't show that in the new one.
Yes, we'll put the.
So that's why I'm asking. So if it was a policy and we were adopting it, it would show that at the bottom. So that was why I asked.
Good catch. Okay. All right, all right, George made a motion to amend this as per the recommendation
By statute?
by statute. Is there any other further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. On to Act 73, in the drive, there's just a kind of a brief update really quick. I shared the email responses I had received from Otter Valley and Slate Valley from the board chairs. And then additionally, I know that some of the other surrounding districts, haven't received responses from, but also, I think some of them are also advocating for like a supervisory district structure. How all that's going to play out in the task force, and the upcoming legislation. It's really hard to say, especially after attending the AOE, public session they had a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to, just kind of share that with the board, and then also the survey results are in the drive as well, and I know some of this wasn't printed, but it's all in the drive.
Are the survey reports public information? Are you going
Yeah.
to put that out to the public?
Oh yeah, it's in the drive. I would say it's.
Well, there's a file on the page for Act 73, so I would presume it's in that.
For the survey results?
Yeah,
No, they're in the drive.
no.
Oh.
On the website, isn't there a file for Act 73?
Oh,
There's a web page, yes,
Yeah.
but this has not been,
Added to it.
right, because that's just something, Lewis and I have had, this is a board, so if the board
Oh.
would like to add that to the page,
I
that would be
think it
something the
should be
board.
added to the page.
Right, we didn't want to do it without the board's direction.
Gotcha. I think that was the
Okay. I
question,
can
not
do it.
just in the drive.
Right.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's all coming to the board tonight too, so, yeah, I think, I wish there were more responses, but, it is what it is. So, so I guess, the next step is, and that's why this is on the agenda, is really just to see what direction the board wants to go in regards to Act 73, or I would say specifically around redistricting.
I would say stand down. I think we need to wait and see what they're gonna approve. I think that some of the previous conversations have not been positive for Corey Valley, for sure. I just, that's why I voted no on having unilateral communication. I think all communication should be approved by the board before it happens.
Oh,
And I think that it's created some concerns with Corey Valley staffing, with these conversations as well. That's my feeling on it.
okay.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I do support, I think that school districts are a much better form of governance than supervisory unions. And I think our kids would benefit more from a district than a supervisory union with school choice.
Technically, we're all school districts.
Like Eric, you meant supervisory districts as opposed to
Correct.
supervisory unions.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
I just think that we did talk about things here, and I feel like it makes us a little look disjointed when one district goes and talks to other people about their future. When we had an Act 73 meeting and we advocated for the SU, and the reason we advocated for the SU and to stay as an SU was because the districts that had choice, that was a conversation we had here, whether we stay that or whatever. And I find it annoying that another district would go and have a conversation outside. And that's what I feel like happened. I don't see us doing that. I don't know that Rutland Town is doing that. I think it makes us look disjointed, and it's annoying to me because I advocated for you. I stood up at the Act 73 meeting, and I supported, going forward as an SU, trying to keep us a comprehensive group to move forward till we know what's happening. So I think when districts are, I don't know, when the lights turn out and the bugs scatter, I kind of feel like that's what happened, and I don't particularly like that feeling. So.
No, I get it, and I'm sorry you feel that way, and I don't necessarily think that's what's happening, in regards to Well Springs is what she's referring to.
Yes, yeah.
And so, Well Springs was approached by another district, and in regards to Act 73 and the redistricting, this whole thing has never really been about, we've talked about supervisory unions and supervisory districts. There's been there's so many things that we don't know what's going to happen. And in regards to the GRCSU, my understanding is that when you see newly formed district, right, in the legislature, and, all of this is depending on what happens with redistricting and what the, legislature adopts, right? We've advocated for, retaining our local control. That's what having an SU means.
I think.
And so with that in Well Springs, with that in Well Springs, we were approached by another district, and it was around school choice, right? Retaining some kind of local control and having school choice moving forward within a newly formed district. And if you do look at supervisory unions and supervisory districts, there's no room for school choice if you're in a supervisory district, right? And that's how we understand this will, potentially play out. But, again, in light of what's happened, and watching what's happening in the redistricting task force, and also, attending these events, it's, at this point in time, it's like you said, maybe it's time to back off, but I don't know. But, it's not like Well Springs is saying, we're gonna jump ship. It doesn't work that way.
I understand how it works, but I also know that Quarry Valley was reached out to this time last year, I believe it was, and we didn't take action. We didn't do anything. The superintendent responded and simply said that,
I refused to even answer the person that reached out to me.
So I guess while the rest of us are at the table saying one thing, I just think that, we all want to retain local control as much as we can. No one wants to give that up. But I find it I don't know what other word to use, disjointed. That when a group leaves the table to talk about something else and everyone else is still at the table supporting the concept that we all agreed on to go forward with. And we did that here at this table. We agreed. That was what we said when we had the Act 73 meeting. That's why we said, when people asked, we said we're advocating going forward as a SU. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because we have districts that have choice and we want to allow them to continue to have that choice and that opportunity. And I feel like, I'm not speaking for anybody else, my district or anything, I feel like it's a little bit of slap in the face. Whether you agree and left or whatever, and I understand the process. I've read more and know more about this probably as much as the task force does. But I just feel like we decided one thing and then some of us left and decided to do something else. That's how I feel. That's me on what I'm putting on the table.
But that's what I'm trying to say is we're not doing something else. Like,
Yeah, but we're not
It didn't
having the
sound like that.
conversations. We're not having the conversations. We're saying we should have a conversation collectively, and some of us are saying we're having our independent conversation.
That
That's,
would have been like me at the meeting, standing up and saying what the cons were about school choice for all of our students. Because Corey Valley doesn't have that. So as we lose students from our other, family districts, we lose opportunities for our students in high school. No one talks about that. So there is pros to it. There is cons to it. I didn't stand up and embarrass the SU during that meeting. I respected what you wanted to say, and I don't feel like that was returned at all. And, I don't know what the benefit is of Corey Valley being in a supervisory union. I can't figure that out. I would have liked to see all of us come together because I think we could have had a great thing. We would have had over 1,000 students. That would have positioned us well for whatever the heck the state's going to do. And instead, we want to protect. We're always in tribal mode, protecting our own. And who pays? Our kids pay. It's ridiculous.
George?
So I just want to say that I'm sorry that you feel offended and everything, all right? Be careful you get what you wish for with a supervisory district, okay? Because all the big population centers are talking about supervisory district because they think we're going to be the winners here, okay? Schools like Middletown Springs and like Wells, we don't have a big population center. We would like to continue choice for our students, and we'd like to have a say in local control, which is not going to happen in a school district. Look at your population centers. They're going to be represented on the board by population. So some places, no, I'm not done yet, please. One thing we shouldn't be doing is talking over each other in this meeting. That makes us look bad. If you've got a little bit of the population, you're going to be lucky to get a seat on the board. And as far as an advisory committee on your school, ask Benson how they feel about that, okay? Ask Benson how they feel about their elementary school disappearing. So I think it's good to maintain local control. I think it's good to offer choice. We can still stick together and do this. Let's not get offended by people being approached from the outside for just a letter of intent. We're not doing anything else besides saying we'd like to stay in a supervisory union, and we're looking to where we might have to combine.
Which I'm fine with if you want to stay in a supervisory union. That's up to Middletown Springs and Wells. I used to be a citizen of Wells. So I understand when we were talking about Part 46, the huge thing was, we're going to still maintain our school choice. School choice was the most important thing. But what about the kids from Corey Valley that don't have the same opportunities?
Why
Is that a big deal?
Why is that?
I don't know, you tell me.
But we sat here, George, and said, we're advocating as an SU, and then you all left and said, this is my takeaway, maybe you're not, we're gonna go see if there's another SU. Everything you said that you want, we stood up here and supported for you. That's why I went to the 73 meeting and said, we're advocating staying as an SU. And you just said, we're talking because we want to stay in an SU, because we want to have choice. Stood up and said that at the Act 73 meeting for Wells Springs and Rutland Town. So, yeah, I feel like you slapped us across the face. I feel like you had a meeting and we are offering the same thing as we said here now, that we all had a meeting, a discussion collectively about, and you went someplace else to sign on, just in case.
We didn't sign on to anything.
Well, you said a letter of intent.
We haven't said anything. Colin?
Yeah, thank you, George. I don't think this does us any good. I think open and honest communication moving forward is the way we should all go. I don't think anyone should pretend that they're not out for their community first, and we should all be thinking that. I pledge to be with this SU, but at the same point, Rutland Town is first. But I don't want to go behind anyone's back and do that. I don't discount anyone who should be doing what they believe that their townspeople, their community wants to do. At the end of the day, we probably all don't have that much impact on what's going to happen. I think we just need to be in reality that we're all going to be together for a bit, so let's maximize what we can do together. There's a benefit to being together the way we are. I had Louis, on a financial impact, I mean, Louis shared some administrative overhead costs that we do as an SU. We're somewhere in the 5% range. The average in the state's 7.8. There's a financial benefit for us all staying together. We're fusing stuff around the district, but in 3 to 4 years, this could all look very, very different. What I would appreciate moving forward, and it didn't impact me, but I'm not going to speak for another district inside of our SU or talk about what they should be doing or having a communication with another SU or another district about what I think a different town should be doing, even if they're in our SU. That's what caught me off guard, was a communication being had about one of our districts from someone who is, yes, part of the SU, but also not part of that local community. But everyone's got to be doing what's best for their community at the same time. And without feeling like you're slapping each other in the face, just be open and honest with each other. But this whole landscape is shifting. We're not that big, we're not going to have that much impact, but the infight right now is not going to help. I think we should communicate and be honest with each other that we're not going to do that, not stab each other in the back, but also understand that that's the landscape we're in.
Meredith?
I just want to reiterate that what Colin said in terms of we have next to no control over any of this future planning. Currently, none of the projected maps have us anywhere but in Rutland County, which will not allow us to have choice in the end. And this is our only chance to have choice. So choice fills our empty houses. It's part of our tax base. People move to our community. It costs us. It costs more for sure, but this was a small chance to take, and I don't think it's going to be too influential to anybody. Quite honestly, there's very little any of our boards, especially because of the size of them, can influence in what's going on at the state level.
Great.
I'm sorry?
I did not mean to.
Yeah, so,
You didn't offend me, I'm just asking why.
I don't know, I get what you're saying, when you put it the way you did, it does sound like that, but that's not what's going on. It's mainly about advocacy, no one can just leave an SU. So it's not like, oh, the grass is greener, we're just gonna hop, skip over here. That's not what's going on. And with respect to what's happening with the redistricting, we've had previous meetings with the Meadowy Board during the last legislative session in terms of school choice advocacy when H454 was going through the legislature. And so with respect to them, we figured that having a meeting and discussing their request would be valid and reasonable. And, you know, again, we're still advocating for an SU, and that would be the GRCSU. But to know what's going to happen is, you know, again, out of our control to a certain extent. And, you know, I will say too, well, before we wrap this up, because we're running out of time, I guess, you know, I'd like to see what what the board wants to do in terms of, like, Act 73, if we just want in redistricting, wait to see how things play through, what the board wants to do. I don't see, I would say that when we first sought out doing this in the summer, you know, we wanted to have a community forum, we did that, we advocated to the redistricting task force, we did that. So what's next is basically what I'm asking.
Well, I would say in light of all the conversation that's taking place, that we should just sit tight at the table. Because if the philosophy is whoever rings me up, you're gonna sit and have a conversation with, I don't see any point of having a collective agreement here, because it doesn't seem to have any, doesn't hold water as far as I'm concerned. So, and right now, between now and December 1st, when they're doing a map, there's really, you're not, I mean, I don't even know what we'd say if we had another Act 73 forum in light of some of the conversations that have taken place. Quite honestly. I don't know how to stand as a united front at this moment.
Well, I think the best part of the forum, and this goes for the state-sponsored ones also, is that the public did get to say how much they like and need their local schools, especially at the
Absolutely.
elementary level.
100%.
Okay? I think we got the word out there, and let's be honest about this. They wouldn't have pushed this through our legislature unless they were afraid of not getting reelected. So if enough people say, I want my local school, maybe that will tailor the final product of Act 73, so that there is some guarantee that the local towns have a say in the closing of their school, potentially. Because if it's a school district, and you've got 5% of the population, and the school board decides that that's not viable anymore, you're gone. And we all know that. And that was the best thing the people on the mapping committee said, oh, we're just drawing maps. Yeah, but you can't draw a map in a vacuum. You got to realize what the result's going to be.
Not for them.
Looking down the line.
That's not their job, they'll say, so.
So I think we should be open. I think we should be honest about the potential ramifications. I still see Greater Rutland moving forward as a unit. If we need to be a little bit careful when we are contacted, and again, this was a continuation of something that happened before all this.
Right,
Honestly,
but-
honestly, it was.
But we said about a month ago and had a conversation here about how collectively we wanted to move forward and how we were moving forward as a group. And Eric, Eric was the one who said, like, I don't think that's what we should be doing, but we all said that's what we were doing. We were moving forward. Eric was speaking. He was sending out the letters. We were moving forward as a group, as an SU. And I don't feel like that's what we have continued to do.
Then you win your point.
I'm not trying to win a point.
Well, you did, you won it.
I'm just putting out there how I feel. I'm not trying to, we
So
want
can-
to have open conversation and communication about this. That's all I'm doing. I'm not setting and saying it behind your back. I'm not saying it on the street. I'm saying it right here. I'm not trying to win a point. I'm telling you how I feel and how people in my district
So how do we
feel.
move forward?
I think that we just set tight and wait until maps come out, and in January, when we see what is on the legislative calendar, in my opinion.
Colin?
That's probably not a bad idea, Lisa, to be honest with you. I mean, the task force job is to create a map. That's their task. And then it's got to pass. I think at this point, probability-wise, it's probably 50-50 that they may not come up with a map and or it'll get shot down. I think the task force, the way I see that position right now is they're going to try to kick it back to the legislation to make a decision. My opinion of legislation and their track record is they're gutless, so they're not going to do anything. I think we're going to be sitting in limbo for a little bit. The infighting doesn't help. So I think we need to, and I don't even know if we can, but it needs to be financially motivated, and that's what we haven't seen yet. All these maps, all this garbage doesn't have a number to it. It's all orchestrated about per pupil count, and the per pupil count is made up because it's a made up number. It's not actual per kid. It's for whatever number your kid turns out to be. Is if we continue to force the conversation that we are low spending SU at the moment and force the legislation to push that out, to say what does a map do if we don't know what the cost savings are going to do? It does absolutely nothing. We all have our own opinion about our community and what our community needs, which we can sit here even at the SU and argue all day. I can tell you what I think Proctor should do, but I'm not in Proctor, and they're going to tell me what they think they should do. We need to keep doing what we're doing, is controlling costs, and throw that in their face. Why do we need to change if we are the low-costing districts in this state? Why do we have to force a change? Why don't you go after the high-spending districts? That's what the conversation, I think, needs to be in the public. You're going to force consolidation down, but there's no monetary number behind it outside of we want to save $200 million across the state, but we have no idea who we're going to penalize and who's going to pay for it. We need to keep repeating that conversation in the public. Shutting down random schools that we don't know how effective they are spending does nothing. We're spending a shit ton of money in Burlington, I know that. Their weighted pupils is way over the rest of this state. We're buying a $190 million building that's being paid for not from the city of Burlington. We have to have that conversation, whether it means anything or not. They have 65% of the voting population in Chittenden County, so maybe it means nothing, but we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Fighting each other does nothing. And I don't discount any of you trying to save your town and having conversations. Just tell us what's going on. I don't want to read it in the paper. That's what I want moving forward. It's fine. Talk whoever you need to talk. Write letters of whatever. Just let's talk about it. Have an email to the group saying, hey, we got approached. We're going to think of and explore this. I don't want to read it in the paper, but I also don't disagree that you guys should be protecting whatever your historical towns want to do. And then stop the fighting, keep doing what we're doing, because we're going to be around here for a couple of years anyways before they figure out what's going on. So let's keep doing good work.
I don't think we're fighting. I think when you speak truth at the table, it's not fighting, you're being honest. You may not agree with what one another says, but that doesn't mean you're fighting. It just means you're speaking the truth and how it relates to you. So, and I think once you stop having conversation, that's when fights begin.
Well said, both of you.
It's okay to disagree.
Okay. All right. So, anyone else have any final thoughts? We need to move on. The only thing I figured maybe the other elephant in the room I'd just like to address really quick, and I know, Colin, as you mentioned earlier, communication, and but I did want to mention, in regards to the Otter Valley meeting and that discussion, another surprise in the paper, I will say that it was very mischaracterized, the conversation that we had, okay? I was not the one who...
In the paper or in the actual meeting?
Both, because the paper quoted the meeting. The conversation did not go that way, okay? I know nothing about Proctor, what Proctor wants, what West Rutland wants, okay? And in regards to the conversation was basically to reach out and just ask about Act 73 and the redistricting and how they envisioned. And the conversation, it was a good conversation. I have a lot of respect for their chair, but it did not go that way. You know, she was the one who brought up the Proctor stuff, and, you know, so, you know, there's no background, like, conversations happening for other districts or anything like that. That's not how it went, you know, and I just want to clarify this to the board. It was mainly just like a personal conversation, just to engage with another board chair, because we also talked about other things, and then also to convey to the Quarry Valley Board that, you know, none of this is happening. That is really, it made, I know I'd understand, you know, made the SU board look bad, you know, my door is always open, but there's only one person who reached out to me on this, only one person. So, Lisa, so, you know, if anyone had any questions or any concerns about any of that, anyone could have reached out to me about it, but.
I think that, you know, obviously phone conversations don't work very well, do they? So I think that emails going forward would be a better idea. And if you're going to discuss issues they should be discussed in public. This is a public forum, and just like they were tonight. And then there's no misinterpretations or made up issues.
Yeah, yeah, and I would say that, you know, through like the VSBA and other collaborations, I've talked with a lot of other board members, you know, especially through like the board chair forums, and I've never had that happen before, so yeah, but it's definitely you know, a learning experience, I would say. But you know, again, my message is that you know, the SU board has advocated for like a supervisory union model, you know, like at our August meeting, and that's pretty much to the extent, the only communications that have been done. So, all right, so with that, if there's no other final thoughts on Act 73, we'll move on to the part everyone has been waiting for. DQS. So before we get started, does everyone have, you know, the copy of the district quality standards to look at? Because I'm not going to read every one of these standards word for word. It is in the drive. I don't think it's in the packets. I do have this one if you guys want to share it.
I can screen share it if you'd like, or.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good.
Oh, yeah. All right, so before we get started, just to really, is anyone not familiar with the standards at all, or just need a brief recap? Wow. So I take it everyone read all of the DQS that's in the drive? If you did, you get an A+ or a 4. But no, the only thing we're going to be focusing on is Section 113. So for the district quality standards, it's pretty simple for the most part. This is, the AOE is what they're calling their beta test for this. And, you know, although it comes out of a challenging time throughout the year during budget time, I think this is just going to be their base, the base evaluation boards are going to do. And I think it'll have to be done again in the spring, from what I understand, not 100% sure. So the first standard is governance, under governor's priorities. through an equity lens, the board of each SUSD, as applicable, of each member school district within the SU adopts the vision and measurable goals to support continuous improvement and monitor student academic progress and wellness. So the way this rubric is going to work is that for each section, you have to meet each previous section. So in order to move to approaching, you have to at least met all the conditions within beginning. So, you know, and I really hope folks that read through this and looked through this and already kind of started thinking about where this board is at, because again, we're just evaluating this board. And, you know, my thought behind this is to, you know, keep it simple. You know, either we're meeting that rubric or we're not. So the first one is the board is being proficient at the following conditions are true. The board has not created a vision or set any goals. The board has an established vision and goals, but does not have a process for obtaining community input into creating a vision or goals, which is the first one. So, you know, Wellsprings did this, so anyone, you know, we already did this last month. So folks can just jump on in, like, you know, we can, we don't have to make this a big process.
I would say that just collectively, you could say we're approaching on pretty much all of them, the way I read through them. So
Okay.
I think that we have passed beginning. I think there might be some that you maybe are proficient at, but I also think that doing it the first time, I'm not sure why you want to set yourself up, and I would just collectively put us as approaching.
Okay. For the first one? Linda?
I guess what Lisa did is go straight to approaching and then move up or down from there, instead of starting at the very beginning. Whenever I've done rubrics, that is really a nice approach to doing a rubric.
No pun intended.
Just, it's a suggestion and might be useful.
I think for the first one, yes, approaching. I don't think you've reached proficient, and I think some of the things in a proficient are odd.
Yes. And I think that's also the other piece to this too, is I think feedback is going to be important, because the rubric itself is the AOVs. The standards were developed differently, but okay. So yeah, I mean, I agree. As I'm reading through this, because I don't have it all memorized. Approaching, I think, would be good. Linda?
Yeah, I like what, again, because if you need to cite evidence that you did something, you know, it's maybe not in something you've been keeping track of, these little bitty details for each part. So, like right now, the middle part, like I can cite evidence for some of proficient, but I don't know if we identified barriers and did all that. That's something you have to set your mind to. So I bet approaching is going to be it, but we'll go through all of them, right?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
And I was just going to say the same thing in regards to the board identifies barriers. And you know, when, you know, working on the governance standards themselves,
Oh, sorry.
when you look at the standard itself, you know, meeting the standard means being proficient. So, you know, I think that if there was any language in here that, you know, we would, that we're struggling with, it's definitely feedback.
Well, I mean, you could say proficient, I guess, for number one. It just, what do you define as barriers? Are barriers that in some communities, you have to have printed communication, while in other communities, they access more, internet or online. So what does barrier mean?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly, and I think for the sake of this one, we would say approaching, but then also just take note on, to ask like, what does that mean? For feedback.
we have public comment, you have public forums, you have annual meetings, you have lots of opportunities. So what does it mean? What is the barrier? Does the barrier mean that someone can't get into the building? Does it mean that the time isn't efficient? If someone can't get to our meeting or get information, it's really on them.
And just so you know, since I will be the one who has to enter all these, all you have to do is just check a box.
Okay.
So I'm literally going through this standard and GRCSU, just checking a box. There's no narrative, there's nothing else, it's just checking a
I
box.
would check a box approaching on
Just to let you
everything
know that right
going
now in this
forward.
beta test, that's what the reporting tool is.
That's what I would
Checking
do.
boxes then.
Right. No, I agree, and that's why, I was saying,
Be a long meeting.
Yeah, I would seriously just say, we are approaching on everyone. When you read through them, we have hit the beginning, and the proficient, I think, it's just like this one. You have to know what does barrier mean? Does barrier mean handicap? Does barrier mean you don't have internet access? Does barrier mean that you're only putting it in 2 places in your community and they close at 5 o'clock? What does that mean? So I would say approaching for, when I read through the document, you could say approaching and feel confident about that for all the responses.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, we can quickly check the boxes, and work through this. But, if we're debating between, proficient and advanced or something, and there's language in there, we can just make a note. I do know that as part of the rubric process, they, if there's not feedback on this, then we're gonna see the same document and have the same issues, you know what I mean? So I think other boards, will be providing feedback, but, yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so everyone agrees, approaching on,
Yeah.
113.1? Okay. Okay,
Wouldn't it have
113.
been helpful if they actually got feedback from boards before they implemented it, like as they were building this rubric out?
This is the beta test.
This is the beta test.
So this is what they're doing right now, is they're collecting.
And I'll say this too, there's been some other comments on how this rollout has been. It's, these
Was
just,
supposed to be months ago?
the rubrics were just made public in September, the end of September, so.
That's what I said. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be available months ago.
Um,
And they only got on it because they got in trouble, got their hands made publicly.
Okay, 13.1.2.
If there's open communication, I'm thinking we're pretty much advanced there.
Yeah.
Clear and concise.
Well, we struggled with annually, the board reviews its equity lens and how it applies to work.
I don't know what that means.
We said the same thing, but I've looked up and I do have an equity lens tool now, but you're not advanced if you're not meeting proficient, and I would say that because of that language.
No, I'd say you're approaching there, but once again, no. I'm not even gonna broach that, because I have a
Yeah.
whole lot of thoughts.
Well, I mean, if you look at proficient, set annual goals, establish the system, review progress toward goals, yes. Annual work plan, yes, the SU board has done a work plan, and then you get stuck with reviews its equity lens. Like,
Well, I
where
guess-
is equity lens in this standard? So that's where, we kind of got stuck on too. So, again, I don't know how it is.
How the AOE looks at equity and equality also.
What if our equity lens that we use in the future doesn't align with theirs? So I think that's something that is is just potential feedback.
Approaching.
Yeah, approaching. Does anyone disagree?
No, I'm literally saying, I think every response should be
Approaching.
approaching.
Well, we're gonna go through them all one by one, sorry. But we'll start with approaching, how about that? Okay, for 13.1.3. The majority of board members understand the key indicators of student academic progress and wellness. Okay. Thoughts? I would say approaching on this one too.
Agreed.
Anyone else? Does anyone disagree? Okay. Okay. I would say proficient on traditional board governance.
Well, what is the second bullet point? We have that?
Or,
SU board,
It's in my contract.
it
that's
is?
what
Okay, fine.
oh yes, okay, okay, I see. Yeah. Yep.
Proficient.
Proficient. Anyone disagree? Any discussion? Okay. So make sure everyone, all right, this is for policy governance boards. Okay, governance protocols. Board is yep, the board has agreed. No. The board has agreed upon a set of board operating protocols or norms. No.
Sure,
So,
you operate by Robert's rules.
those aren't board operating protocols. The board operating protocols are different.
That would be a definition for me, because I think when you reorganize, you define how you're going to operate and run the board. Some people do by Robert's rules of small boards, some people don't. That's why we, seconds, for example, we went round and round about that at meetings, whether you need a second or you don't, because it's a small board. So I would say that that is an operating protocol. You refer to Robert's rules.
It's the foundation.
No.
Yeah.
This is referring to different board operating protocols. Robert's rules is,
So what's a protocol?
so like a board operating protocol would be a document that basically says how a board's going to operate in regards to like conducting its meetings. And, it's just a very basic like document. Like the VSBA has like a model one.
Yeah, we had norms before. They were a little horseradish. Were you nice to each other? Did you raise your hand? Did you use proper tone? Did you, I mean, it's like you're 12 years old. We're not 12 years old.
I agree. That's why it says protocols or norms. I agree with you on the norms statement. I think if a board agrees to a set of operating protocols, and just visits it once a year or so. But I think it's the understanding that, everyone, you have agreed set on, not all boards need it. And I would say that,
Approaching.
this comes from, well, I won't get into how the,
I think it's what you define protocols to be, not what the AOE defines it to be, but how you define. A protocol can be you organize in March. In March, you define how your meeting is going to be run, and you set everything. That's your defining moment in March, so I would say approaching.
okay, anyone else?
Approaching.
George?
Again, it goes back to, and this should be in your notes, like, what are they exactly talking about in an operating protocol? Is it how you run your meetings, or is it a document?
Yeah.
I mean, we could say approaching, but with that note, we need some definition on that.
Yeah. Well, I can vouch for what operating protocols means, and it's not Robert's rules. And I can speak to this directly, being part of the governance standards task force that met a few years back and worked through a lot of it. And it's specifically referring to board operating protocols, something that a board adopts,
Okay, so-
not, parliamentary procedure, which is
All right,
different.
I trust what you're saying, but if that's the case, then we don't have one. And we should be at the beginning.
Yeah, but in Proficient, it says the board established operating protocols or norms in its annual work plan that clearly defines roles and responsibilities of board members. You do that in March. We define that you are the chair.
We sign a document.
So, I don't know. We can piss this around all night, what protocols mean. I think you just say approaching and move forward.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fine, I'm just, I think it was best as a board if we agree on it, which is,
What would you like it to say?
well, I mean, that's why I was just kind of going to ask what everyone's thoughts were, because we haven't heard from everyone. My thought is if the board has not agreed upon a set of operating protocols or norms, if we haven't done that, then we're not approaching. Maybe that's something that we can visit, and look at, not necessarily protocols, but also determining, as Lisa said, well, is it Robert's rules that's going to be our operating protocols, and really determine what that fact means to the board, So, I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, I'm good. You want beginning?
Oh, you're asking me what? Yeah, I'm basically saying that we're at beginning,
Okay,
in my
we're
opinion.
beginning.
But I'm looking for at the board, everyone's opinion on this. So.
Go beginning.
I would say that, but again, with a note, we need definition,
So,
concrete definition on
Okay.
the next step.
so that's something that maybe we can define moving forward. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. I know.
Protocol, a system of rules that explains the correct conduct and procedures to be followed in formal situations. Sure sounds like Robert's rules to me.
Okay.
I think, Eric, Robert's rules have been operating protocol for meetings, like established meeting order, but I don't know what if they're looking for just operating procedures, like how they conduct themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're looking at, is Robert's rules is really just.
So like the paper we sign every March.
Correct.
So we're already doing that.
The paper you sign every month is a code of ethics, which is an entirely different thing. But yeah, I mean, like,
But I would just say that that's something which the board can, during the retreat, can work on
Yeah.
larger
Well, let's not reinvent the wheel. I bet there's 6,000
There are.
protocols that we can just, so bring that to the next meeting so we can.
I
say,
bet
"This looks
somehow you
great."
can just
we
incorporate the
can
way
have-
we reorganize in March and be fine to move forward.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah, I think it would be good, you know, because we're kind of disagreeing on this, on what this means, that we could just say beginning, and there's nothing wrong with being at beginning, right? This is just baseline, board self-evaluation is what it is. And then as we define this in the future, we can move from there.
I guess my take is, let's not spend a lot of time defining it. Let's come with
let's
3
just do check.
definitions so we can move on to approaching the next time, you know? Because we could spend 6 hours talking about that, and I don't really want to do that. There's bigger business.
or creating a policy or some horseradish that you look at once a year seems ridiculous to me too.
We were beginning on that, and then.
Yes.
Yeah. To go to the next one.
Okay. All right, on to the next one. The board has identified a specific to make. What? Oh.
Proficient.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. Proficient. Anyone else? Everyone agree? Or anyone disagree? On to 2.3. Yeah. Probably beginning.
I would say.
Any other comments?
I would disagree with that. That's why you have a counter on your website, so. I mean, I think this entire one, the way it's defined, they're awful. I wouldn't even answer it. I would just say that the descriptions are awful and they don't define what real community engagement is. Community engagement is not about us doing self-evaluation.
Interesting.
Community engagement is about engaging the community and the input or feedback that you get. So,
Okay, I think there is an NA box, right? But just,
There is an NA box, yes.
but just for context,
I would just say that the statements under each heading are awful. And they don't define what real community engagement looks, or it's not that's not the manner in which you evaluate community engagement.
I don't have that option. I just have to click a box.
I know, but I'm,
But he said he was giving comments or something.
yeah, I'm taking feedback.
Right.
And then I'll
I'm just
just,
saying, but I just need to check a box.
yes.
Well, that's it. You don't have to put any,
Just need to know what box to check.
I would check if there's an
Oh, there
NA
we go.
box, I would put NA.
NA.
Wait, hold on. You know, I would vote for at least beginning because we have a communication committee. We're working on that, finding out what people are thinking. I think we've been doing so much to get information out there, but we don't know if it's being received and how it's being received. So I would vote for beginning because it's something we're working on.
If that's,
It's like a negative.
I would do, I would say
Yeah,
approaching then, Linda, if you're gonna use that case, because
We can
the
collect them
board
from
is,
the website.
the board is beginning to collect information on its engaged rates, you know, so we are there, but beginning is you're just not doing it, which it's
Yeah.
not the case. So if the committee is, should be at least approaching, if that's.
Yes, we put a time into it, and thankfully for Miss Whedon, Amanda, she's got really great ideas promoting it.
I agree the wording is very simplistic, but we are collecting data.
I think,
Collecting it, you should be evaluating it, at least seeing what's coming in.
Yeah.
So I would say approaching.
I think that, but if you look at beginning though, because you have to,
That says we're doing nothing.
we're doing nothing, yeah.
It's like a
Which is
double
not the
negative.
case.
Yeah.
So it is very poorly worded.
So,
So a choice between beginning and approaching, I would go approaching.
okay.
Okay,
So,
good.
board collects information. I mean, I don't think we've quite done that yet.
Well, you do that. You do that via the website. You do that. You just did it with the survey. So does it say you need to do it 15 times? We did it. You've done it.
Okay,
Yeah, you're starting, I like that.
okay.
So just say approaching. And then I would just, as a comment, say that you shouldn't have a response that is a negative.
You did ask questions last year around budget communication,
Yeah.
around feedback, and how many responses we had. So the board has collected information
Right.
on community engagement through, so.
Great. I'm glad we talked about it, because,
I would still say as a comment that the responses below are horrific, and a response should not be a negative when you're asking a question. They should be in the form of, I mean, I don't know. Some fourth-grade student wrote this.
no, I think you're right. I mean, it's, some of the wording in here is really challenging to understand, because we look at it from a board perspective, and it's just like, wait a minute, why would we do that? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, the next one is obviously easily approaching. Is it proficient? I don't know, because I don't think we track training that board members take, because you can do stuff online through webinars. I don't even know why you'd need to track it. So,
yeah,
One thing I did see with the VSBA this year is the first time, they had a workbook in which they are expecting board members to track their 8 hours of training. So I think they are asking people to, whether it
when
be
the
self-track
VSBA
it.
starts sending me a check every month, then
Then
I'll start reporting back to
I'm
them.
just, I was saying that merely around this tracking. But I also know that we have board members who don't do their 8 hours, and some who do more than 8 hours. That's just the reality. I think, so that's where, you know.
yeah,
Well, then it should say 50% of your board members, 80% of your board members. It shouldn't just say, if that's gonna be one of the evaluative parts, then it should say, you know, the majority of board members or something like that, because otherwise,
So it says here, some board members and approaching.
yeah,
So I think-
well,
So I think
some.
that's where, right, but that's what 50% is some. 70% is some.
Okay.
So.
No, but I'm saying for proficient, the board tracks member participation in
but we
training.
we don't track member participation. But I would also say that this was one that really bothered me, because it's asking for member participation, but the board makes decisions as a whole. And so it's like, why would you try and why would you have to be proficient on an individual's basis when the board should be collectively doing a lot of these things, you know? So that was something that I was stuck on too, and so I just think with that language, I think it could be reworded, you know, from a board aspect and not a, you know, member perspective. And I would say approaching. Linda?
Yeah, I agree with approaching, because being a new board member, I've gotten a nice orientation from the superintendent and also from the Vermont School Board Association, and I've taken every one of their offerings, so you can count me in. I just like to learn more, I mean, to be up to speed with what everybody else is, probably already knows.
Yeah.
And things change too, so I go to as many as I can.
Should have come to the
I
conference.
think approaching seems to fit.
Okay, great, approaching. The next one, I would say profession.
I gotta go. I gotta be up at 4.
Oh.
So. All right.
Okay. I'm still on.
I trust your responses. Quitter.
Okay. Okay,
Take care.
Take care.
let's see. Approaching, and I say that, because, it has that equity lens again. Equity lens that identifies historically marginalized populations in the school district, and aligns policies to address inequities. So, you're not proficient if you're not meeting all that. So I'd say approaching, in my opinion.
I would just say while the board may have a formal process, the board does do this informally.
Oh.
So I'm just saying, I think they're asking for a more formal process, but I think, I just want to state that.
Well, I mean,
that
I
the
think
board
when
does engage in these
you're
conversations,
using
does.
VSBA policies,
I see.
you've already have the equity lens built in, don't you? To a certain degree?
It's, so that's where it's like, because it says the board has established an equity lens. Like, we haven't, you know?
Right.
And so like, if you're going to, we don't really have to grab the next level just to say that we are. I think like, if we're doing something, it should be easy. If we have to sit here and debate, well, if we're meeting this or not, I'm just reading the words and saying, no, we're not doing that. And that's just my perspective on this. But I think collectively as a board, that's the best way to keep moving forward to this is to agree on what we're going to have, what box we're going to check. So, that's my opinion. You know, I'm open to anything else.
Approaching is fine, let's go.
Almost done. Okay. Maybe proficient?
I almost think you could be advanced based on the second bullet point of that. I mean, we do build our budgets based on those things. We say that, we pilot things. We say that in our strategic plan.
Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah,
Answer.
Yes.
Maybe approaching, I think proficient, all board members review conditions set forth and negotiated.
That's not even realistic.
I mean, we do have, I believe all the CBAs are in the drives. But review that, I haven't even, like, it's.
Well, you review them all before you make a motion to approve from negotiations. I mean, you have to do that.
True. That's a good point.
But it says all contracts and, what does it say?
Agreements and contracts.
yeah.
I mean, I guess, Lewis brings us transportation, brings us food policy. Like, how in-depth are you looking at things, I guess, becomes the question.
Or do they mean personnel contracts, not general contracts?
It says negotiated agreements and contracts.
Yeah, I think it's, contracts can be But see,
Doesn't say personnel.
I think, like personnel contracts would maybe fall under.
So it's
like,
teacher
negotiation.
contracts in the beginning, but it doesn't.
Okay.
Such as teacher, superintendent, employee health care. Well, employee health care is out of our hands, so that's ridiculous that they even, I mean, that's just a perfect example of stupidity when writing this.
That's weird, I thought it's in there. Linda?
Oh, it seems to me that when you have the personnel you need to meet the goals you set, then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know, because there's so many different kinds of positions.
We're not talking about that.
You're not talking about that?
We're not talking about goals for people, no. We're talking about their contracts. We're talking about like negotiations. So like what that looks like, the negotiation contract. Not in each individual contract. You're talking about, you negotiated for teachers, you negotiated for support staff, busing contract, food service.
Yeah, so it meets the needs.
Okay,
Something about meeting needs, I thought I read that.
all right.
I would say proficient.
So I was just gonna say, all right. Anyone else? Okay, so I take that as everyone's in agreement.
Okay.
If you're not gonna say anything. I mean, I think it works. Okay.
Approaching.
Yeah. Yeah, proficient would be all board members receive annual training in Vermont education law. That's, again, this kind of ties being proficient with individual, but.
Education funding system. No one knows that. But we're supposed to.
Right. I mean, and I don't know if you've looked at, even the, at Act 73 where the funding foundation formula, I mean, even that's.
So I'd say approaching, advanced, and then we're done.
Which one is that? Okay. So 3.5, you said approaching?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you could be proficient if you want the superintendent to be a board member, but otherwise I think you have to be.
Yeah, I think.
You're next to like Chris. A school board member. I don't think so.
Take a huge salary cut.
Watch from afar.
All right, so that was approaching, and then 3.6, you said.
Approaching, and I'd say the last one you could say that you're advanced. We invite them. It doesn't say do they show up. The board invites locally elected officials to present information to the board during regular meetings and/or district annual meetings. We invite them.
Okay. Okay, but we haven't established a process, though, for regular communication.
But it's,
So before you can be advanced, you gotta be proficient, and.
the process is the superintendent reaches out to them and invites them and tells them when the annual meetings are. That would be the process.
Okay. But we haven't established that as a process, have we?
We do it every year. I would say that's an established process.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Like, I'm not
That's
arguing.
what I would
with
say.
you. Okay. And again, that's why we're discussing it. So, you're saying advanced.
I am.
Does anyone disagree with advanced? You know, I would say that, you know, with that understanding, yeah, why not?
If you weren't part of the group, would it still happen? If it was a different person leading?
What do you mean?
You know, established would mean that it would continue even without us particular people, just another group of board members and superintendent. Would it still happen?
Yes. It happened before the superintendent. It's gonna happen with the next one.
Yeah. And I think it just kind of, even though you don't have like a written formal process, even past practices could be an established method of continuing something, so.
I don't think everything has to be written down. Sometimes common sense just has to bubble to the top.
You know, and I would like to say that, you know, and that is the last one. You know, I'd just like to say, like, you know, as we work through this, you don't have to make it that complicated, try and keep it simple, but I think the discussion is a huge, important part of this, so. You know.
Yeah, I think having, being able to come back, with you being able to come back and tell us, what does the equity lens look like? What is the AOE's definition of that? Maybe that's what it is, to bring it back and say that, so.
And I have some feedback even from when Wellsprings did it too, because, you know.
Yeah.
There's just some things in
But
there.
they should have a definition of that someplace within the AOE. If that's a phrase they like to use, that should be defined.
And I think, because, you know, we can get a lot of information, like, because I found a VSBA equity lens, and it's just a simple document, but like, you know, what if I found an equity lens online from somewhere else?
Right.
Does that align with the AOE's equity lens, or does it just mean any equity lens? So you know, it doesn't even say equity lens in the standards.
I know. Well, that's why.
Okay.
That's why I think a lot of things don't, it's like they just threw them and saw to see what would stick against the wall, in my opinion.
Okay, I think that wraps up the DQS. We'll move on to public comment. Did anyone else have anything further to say tonight, or at all? Okay, next meeting is December 2nd. And if you have any future agenda items for that, or, you know, email or reach out to myself or the superintendent. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn at 8:17.
So moved.
By Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion carries.